Welcome everyone who is coming across this video where we are going to talk a little bit about the Art of Spiritual Direction program at Ghost Ranch in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to introduce who is present here today. I am Crystal Hart. I am Stillpoint's administrator, and I've been with Stillpoint for about 5 years. I, like everyone else here, am a graduate of the Stillpoint Art of Spiritual Direction program, and have been working as a spiritual director and a pastor since going through the program. And I have an evangelical background and tradition and have found myself making a home in contemplative spirituality here at this point in life. Next, I will introduce Chris Ng, who is our interim executive director. Chris was a lawyer for 20 years. Before becoming ordained in the UCC. She actually went through Stillpoint's first cohort at Ghost Ranch, cohort 1, and has been with us ever since, serving in multiple capacities, including faculty there. And she also studied Taoism for many years. Next, I will introduce Ravi Verma. Ravi is a child of refugees and grew up in India. He comes from multiple religious traditions and has been heavily involved at Spiritual Directors International for many, many years, and has been at Stillpoint serving in many different capacities as well for over 20 years. Currently, Ravi serves as our program director and also serves as faculty spiritual direction program at Ghost Ranch and in Southern California and online. And finally, Stacy Parks. Stacy worked as a physical therapist for many years before coming to do the Stillpoint Art of Spiritual Direction program, also at Ghost Ranch, and has a practice, a spiritual direction practice now, and has been doing that ever since. What cohort were you, Stacy? Cohort 3. So thank you all for being here. And we are going to start this off by telling you all a little bit about Stillpoint and the history of how it came to be.
So yes, let me share a little bit about Stillpoint. Stillpoint is a nonprofit that started about 40 years ago when a group of ecumenical friends in Southern California, who were all committed members of their churches, lamented together the lack of an opportunity for the average person to explore their direct experience of the holy. And so they went to work to create a program to form deeply grounded spiritual companions, spiritual directors, so people had a space to share their direct experience of God, of the sacred, and to grow in their spiritual consciousness. So Stillpoint began by offering programs in spiritual formation and spiritual direction of formation in Southern California. So those programs involved also contemplative life and leadership, holy listening, and learning this art of spiritual companionship. These were all cohort-based programs that would meet once a month at various locations. But then about a little more than 16 years ago, Ghost Ranch, which is Presbyterian church affiliated retreat center in the high desert of northern New Mexico. The Ghost Ranch wanted a residential spiritual direction formation program at the ranch. So instead of creating a program themselves, they came to us at Stillpoint. And in 2009, Stillpoint began offering both their general formation program, the Spiritual Journey, and the Art of Spiritual Direction in a residential format at Ghost Ranch. So this year, we will be bringing in cohort 16. So this year in 2025. And it's been just a really powerful program for many people.
Thank you, Chris. Ravi, I'd love to hear you tell us about what the Art of Spiritual Direction program is and who makes a good candidate, who may find their way into it.
Thank you. Just want to extend a warm welcome to anybody who is going to be watching this. We're excited that you are here, and we hope we give you some basic information about the art of spiritual direction, spiritual companionship through Stillpoint at Ghost Ranch. To begin with, some of you may be very familiar with spiritual direction. Clearly, some of you are excited about exploring this in your own life and as a vocation for yourself. So I just want to briefly talk a little about my sense of what spiritual companionship, spiritual direction is. And the best way I can do it is something I heard from Roshi Joan Halifax. And she described the process as, imagine a boat on a river, and another boat comes alongside it, and together they deeply listen for where the stream is carrying the first boat. So it's a process of accompaniment to the sacred, however you define that, and that the process of spiritual companionship is about the person who is seeking that. So to recognize and honor their agency and their process and their background. So this is all about the other in that way. It's not about the person offering spiritual companionship. And at the same time, we also recognize and affirm that this offering of spiritual companionship, we can't teach anybody to do this. It's a gift that comes from a deeper place, comes from the divine, it comes from the mystery, it comes from God. What we provide is a solid container where you can uncover, recover, discover the gift that is in you. And also learn in community from each other, from the facilitators who are there. But it's your journey, and you try this on to see what is going to be your way of offering this gift to the world. And I'm going to talk about some values we hold dear. So we are looking for people who share these values. And I'll come back to this, that this program may not be for everyone. So I think it's important you hear what are the values, what makes up the container we offer and we nurture in this process. The first, there are 4 or 5, and I'll go over them quickly. One is we are an experiential-based program. We do believe that we learn how to accompany others by doing it. And we learn from each other. We learn from the people who've been on this path before. There are books to read. There are some small papers to write. But this is not an academic program. It is an experientially based program. Second, So we really emphasize the value of community in doing this work. None of us can do the spiritual journey alone. We need fellow pilgrims. We need others to help us see what we ourselves can't see on our own, which means that it is a collective responsibility to welcome others into the program. We may not agree with them, but we welcome them with generosity and hospitality. So we do offer a diverse, inclusive program, and that's a high value for us, which means things like people will come whose theology may be different than yours. Maybe their religious background is different than yours. Maybe they are of a different race, a different sexuality, a different ability. They may be lay or clergy, or they may be spiritual and not religious. So we don't say that we have to agree with everyone. We hold to our center, that we offer that gift of hospitality and an openness to learn from each other. So you have to examine yourself. What is your ability to do that as you apply or you think of applying to this program? The other part, we also believe deeply that the inward journey, that deep listening, holy listening to what Spirit, what God is doing, that still small voice, always leads us outside into service. And whatever transformation we are getting, we use that to be of service to the world. In contemplative ways, we might talk about the intersection of contemplation and sacred activism. Different ways people express that. But we believe those are important elements. And also, we try to offer a program that integrates many other disciplines of somatic work, the wisdom of the body, of using art and music in different ways and different spiritual practices to enrich this experience. So from the very beginning, you will start practicing how to do spiritual companionship. And they'll be with the guidance of a spiritual director who's been through the process to guide you. So we learn by doing to do that. And the responsibility for the container is all of us together, that we do this together. So some of the things you have to look at is how much time and space you have for this. Are there other issues in your life that may not make you ready? Do you feel you need to do some more preparation before you enter this program? And a process of admission and doing that will be asking those questions. So we built in support and nurture to foster that kind of openness, that kind of community to do that. And we hold each other accountable. Are we really practicing that generosity with compassion and hospitality to others? Are we learning and refining our skills to do this work? So we do some, we'll give you constant feedback, but we'll also have some special times to evaluate with you. What are your strengths? Where else might you need some assistance? Is this the right fit? Is this the right time for you? So that's part of our approach to this. We've been doing this for quite a long time, and I was part of the group that took the California program and brought it to Ghost Ranch. And, Ghost Ranch is a magical place. Just the grounds and the nature and the history and the beauty of that is a teacher of its own. So we try and use the landscape as a part of the cohort, part of the group that's doing it, because there is so much wisdom to be gained from that. So some of the skills are you have to look at, are you, what is your gift of listening? How has that been confirmed for you? Do people seek you out to talk about matters of the spirit? How well do you keep your boundaries? And we have people coming who are clergy, who are therapists, who are coaches, and each of those is a different hat. So if you come from that background, you may need to learn which hat you're wearing to do this work. And we talk about all those topics. So the first 2 weeks you're there, it's really about practicing the art of doing spiritual companionship, learning the best practices, learning from each other. And we have different topics that we do about deep listening, about mysticism, about vocation, about belonging. Those are the first 2 weeks of the program. And we talk about the spectrum of helping professions, from therapy to spiritual companionship to pastoral care, and which hat are you wearing to do this work. And we built in time for spiritual practices, and then most days you will practice doing spiritual companionship. In the second year, and there is an evaluation, mutual evaluation, if you're ready to move on, or what are your gifts, skills need to be enhanced. Second year, we continue refining your skills to do this work. And at the same time, we also examine what is happening within you as you do this work. And we do that through our version of supervision. And we provide supervisors and people who will walk you through a particular session you had to examine your reactions. And we do that not to evaluate your gifts there, but really, if you're diverted from what is happening and you lose attention on the directee's journey, this can help you in that. And the topics are a little more, advanced is not the word. They're different topics than the first 2 weeks. The topics about archetypes and shadow and dreams and grief and the cosmology and how we are part of that. It's also talking more directly about race and activism. So it's an ongoing process. And as you finish, we do offer some programs to keep you in community and to enhance your gifts and skills to do this work. In between each of the weeks and in between each session, you'll be in small groups, and that's a way to foster community, to continue learning. So, friends, am I missing something? Any questions from this group? If you think I need to elaborate more?
I have one question that can be, any one of you can answer it. Ravi, you mentioned that it's important that you and the people who are coming and applying discern, do they have the time, and is this the right time to put forth towards this program? Could someone speak to what the coursework kind of looks like between the weeks, what to expect as far as the workload?
I can speak to that. So as soon as you've been through the first week, then you will be invited to, as an intern, find a directee, and we help you figure out how to do that. And so you will be meeting with a directee once a month, and you write up essentially what happened in that session. And there are also short reflection papers that you do. They're not academic papers, no footnotes, no Chicago Manual of Style. They're just reflection papers. And so then there are a series of books to read before we come to the next week. Then as you get into the second year, then you're asked to have 2 directees. And again, you'll be writing up each of those in that time, and more books to read. But when we read books, we're not reading them like you would read for an academic course. You're reading them for how they resonate with you, what they bring up in you, what strikes you about them, and what you carry from them. So that's an idea of the coursework involved.
Maybe one more, and I think Stacy's going to talk more about that. After the first week, you'll be put in a small group with one of the staff people, and you will meet on a monthly basis and a variety of things happen during that time. One is community building, there's sometimes some learning, there's sometimes reflection on what books you're reading. So different things will happen in that, and all those are requirements. Another requirement is that through the entirety of the program, you be in spiritual direction formally, and that you see a spiritual director regularly during the program. So.
Thank you. Stacy, I'd love to turn it over to you at this time. You can add anything more to that if you had something to add in addition to letting people know about the ranch. Tell us about Ghost Ranch and what makes it so special to do that program there, and what to expect from the land and the experience of doing this program at Ghost Ranch.
Well, the program at Ghost Ranch is, like Ravi said, in a beautiful setting in northern New Mexico. It's about 12 miles from the small town of Abiquiu, if you're trying to Google it and figure out where it is. It mountains, beautiful rock formations, lots of hiking trails. So it's just a wonderful setting. It's a thin place to many people, a place where you will experience the divine on a level I think that might surprise you. Sort of the nuts and bolts of the program. Usually you do a journey class, either online or in person at Ghost Ranch before you apply. Then once you're accepted, it's a 4-week program. So you travel to Ghost Ranch November, then April, October, and March. So 4 weeks. And each week that you're there, you arrive on a Monday evening. Then there's full programming Tuesday through Saturday, with Sunday morning being a travel day. Ravi talked about some of the themes, and each day will have its own theme. We'll cover some of the books that have been sent for you to read for that time. There is artwork, music, a lot of creative ways to connect with the holy, to connect with your own spiritual journey as you're in the formation program. To get there is either you fly to Albuquerque or you fly to Santa Fe. There are more flights available to Albuquerque. Albuquerque's about a little over 2 hours from the airport to Ghost Ranch. From Santa Fe, it's a little over an hour. There's an available car service from the airport in Albuquerque to Santa Fe, and then a shuttle from Santa Fe to Abiquiu. Many people choose to rent a car, and that works well. They have a car then while they're there during the program. And we can put you in touch with your fellow travelers, and that way you can share the cost a lot of times of a rental car. There's some train service also that goes from Albuquerque to Santa Fe, so if you were interested in that. But we help you figure out a lot of that once you're accepted into the program. Let me see what else I have on my list here. Oh, I wanted to talk a little bit about what we call the wisdom circles in between each week. It really is a way to keep you connected to a few of your fellow interns. And in some ways, it's a sense of accountability because we usually cover one of the books. And so you know which book you have to have read by a certain date. And then we discuss that during our time. It's an hour. We meet for an hour once a month in your wisdom circle. And that's usually with 3 or 4 people, other people. There's a book discussion. There's a short contemplative activity, a check-in time, just to share about what's going on in your life. And then we do talk about the directees that you're seeing as an intern, if you have any questions, what's coming up for you. So it's a good time to just share and reflect together. So anything else that you guys can think of that I need to add?
Did you say anything about the meals at the
Ah.
dining hall?
Okay, so you stay at a retreat house, which is a couple of miles from the dining hall. So that's when the car is available and nice to have. But there are usually people with cars that if you don't choose to rent a car, you can always find a ride. So we go up 3 times a day for meals. There is a kitchen there at the retreat house. And so you can prepare snacks and things like that there. You can store things in the fridge. There's a stove, an oven, a cooktop, and a refrigerator if you need to if you need to store food there. Beautiful retreat house. It really is. We talk about it being part of the experience, just staying in the retreat house. Many groups have gone through there, and it's a special place.
Maybe one more thing, Stacy, there is that a factor in every week we are there is the weather. The weather controls things. We may lay plans, but the weather can shift, whether it's rain or snow or wind. And there is better internet service there now than there used to be. And the food is ranch food, and the place is rustic. So be prepared for that kind of experience. And for some people that is challenging to do that. So you need to know, and once you apply, you can ask more questions.
As
And then
a vegetarian, I just want to make note that the vegetarian options were amazing the week that I was there. And they have gluten-free and vegan options. So that will be a part of the process. Admissions process is letting us know. So we let them know any dietary needs.
And I just want to encourage you to bring a camera. It's beautiful.
The other part of this is, you'll get as much as you put into this process. How fully invested you are with your spirit, with your time, your energy, how committed you are to being part of the group and joining the larger tribe of spiritual companions. Through Stillpoint, through Spiritual Directors International, you enter this new world. And what we find is if you can let go of how you're going to use this in the future, because the journey itself will lead you to that place. And some people, the field is expanding so much now. There are people doing this kind of work in different ways. In some in nursing homes, some in prisons, some in homeless shelters. There are some people who use art as a medium to do this work. Some use movement. Some use all kinds of different ways. And it's the field is expanding, and we know that the need for this kind of accompaniment is growing in the world we are in. There is so much division and so much going on. So to come to offer a refuge, a healing place, an accompaniment for people to go deeper in their connection to source is very important, and it's humbling with what people bring. And it's very satisfying to be part of this journey with someone else. I know I get more sometimes than the people I'm accompanying, because I get to witness the movement of God and Spirit in them, and that enriches my own journey.
Any other last thoughts before I touch on the admissions process and next steps? Okay. So more than likely, as you go through the application and admissions process, you will be talking with me. That looks like completing your prerequisite, which Stacy touched on. It's one form or another of our spiritual journey program. And if you need more information about that, feel free to reach out directly to me and I can give you all of that information. Once your prerequisite is completed, you then apply for this program. And that looks like filling out application where you're answering some questions to let us know a little bit about you. That includes paying a small fee for that application process and putting together 1 to 2 references. The references who we would like to hear from is either your spiritual director or one of your mentors or facilitators who were a part of whatever spiritual journey model that you chose to go through, the track that you chose. After you send in those items, we contact you for an interview, one of the faculty members of our Ghost Ranch program, and they will set up a time, walk through a brief interview, and then you will wait to hear back from them once admissions has closed and selections have been made. We keep cohorts fairly small. I believe it's not more than 12. Is that correct? 12 to 15?
We have had 13 in recent years, but that's been the biggest.
Okay. So usually around 12 is the number of people you will journey alongside through the program. And then you begin. If for any reason you are not accepted this year, that doesn't mean that in the future you can't reapply or that you would have to do a prerequisite again. Once you've completed that prerequisite, it is done and you are welcome to reapply for the next year. So I believe that covers it. Am I leaving anything out?
I would just add that this interview, this process, when you apply to the program, is mutual discernment. Do we feel you are a good fit for this program? Do you feel this is the right place for you to be? So it's a mutual program, and we do this prayerfully to discern both who's right and ready for this program and who would fit into the culture that Stillpoint tries to foster.
And I'm sure a lot of you want to know about pricing. That can shift from year to year. So I would direct you to our website to see that number so that I don't give you the wrong year's number. There are different costs depending on which option you choose. There is single occupancy with a private bath, and there's shared bath pricing. There's also double occupancy if you want to share a room. That shifts the price a little bit. And then there are camping options. You can do tent camping or bring your RV with or without hookups. So as you determine which kind of option you'd like, we can provide you with those costs and help you determine which is the best decision for you each week. All right. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video. It is an honor that you would consider Stillpoint in this program, and please feel free to reach out to any one of us should you have any lingering questions. Blessings.